Namaste, everyone. Laura here from Awakened and Autistic, and I am an autistic adult that got diagnosed at the age of 37. I was just thinking about this. I got diagnosed on December 13th, just a month ago, and my birthday's on January 13th, so I'm now 38. So it was exactly a month before my 38th birthday that I got diagnosed. Anyhow, I make these videos to raise awareness and to create things for autistic adults to help them with struggles that they have in their life that we all relate to. So if you've been watching my videos and you like them, please subscribe and like this video. And also it helps if you comment. So I'd love to hear any of your comments or suggestions or anything. So today's video is on 11 gifts of being an autistic adult. And I promised this video because the one right before this was on 36 struggles that autistic adults still have. So I promised I'd make this video to kind of counteract that we also do have a lot of amazing gifts. So I'm going to list them and then give examples of each and experiences from my own life. That's how I'm able to kind of relate to helping others, is to just share my own experience. So I don't know if you know this, but there's no two autistic people who are exactly alike. So you might relate to some of these and you might not relate to some of these, or you might relate to it in a whole different way. So just keep an open mind when you're listening. So number one is we're really good at hyper focusing on one thing, which could actually make us very successful. And the example that I wanted to give that came to mind is before I moved to California, I read that book, The Secret, and totally transformed my life. And it was interesting how it came into my life. The dentist I was working for at the time took us on an all expense paid trip to California. And the hygienist I was working with asked me if I ever read The Secret. And I said, no. She said, oh, I think you'd really like it. Do you want to borrow it? And I said, sure. So on the plane ride to California from Pennsylvania, I finished the entire book, and it's all about, the law of attraction. And there's, questions at the end of each chapter. And I specifically went through and answered all the questions. And I'm like, what do I really want in my life? And I'm like, I really want to move to California. Like, it's a really big thing to move cross country, but I really want to do that. So I really like hyper focused on this concept of The Secret and applied it all to my life, which eventually led me to actually moving out here at the end of 2014. And I believe that trip was in either 2013 or 2014 when we went to California. And the other thing is, around that same time, I was taking this class at the gym called Intense Sati. It stands for mindful awareness. So it's a high intensity cardio class, and you do movements that, in combination with the movements, you say positive affirmations out loud. You're actually like shouting them. So it's like a call and response. The teacher shouts out the words and the movements, and then we respond. So there's something that happens in the brain because you can't have like a negative and a positive thought at the same time. So it was like helping to like rewire my brain. So when I knew I was wanting to move to California in all of the classes, that's what I was hyper focused on, is like I'm moving to California. And like we were saying these like affirmations like, yes, I am committed to live the life I love. Yes, and then that would be the teacher saying it. Then we would say, yes, I am committed to live the life I love, just to give you an example. And that class like totally changed my life. And it's not a coincidence that today is January 22nd. And last year on January 22nd of 2022, so 1/22/22, Patricia Moreno, who created the whole intensity thing, she actually passed away a year ago today. And I was just thinking that as I was making this video. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to her in heaven. That thank you so much for helping to change my life and bringing me to California, which led me to so many other healing modalities and helping my life. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so number two, we are really deep thinkers. And the example I wrote down for that, sorry if I'm looking down, I have to look down at my notes here. I'm a really deep thinker when it comes to health and getting to the root of things. So it's a gift because whenever there's like a health concern in my life, I don't just go to the doctor and get like a medication or like a band-aid solution. I actually am able to think through it and like down to the root of like where did it like originally stem from? Could be something, it's usually some kind of trauma. And this has been most helpful in my life and has led me on this holistic path that I'm on right now. That has like utterly just reframed and restructured my whole entire life in the best possible ways. So, yeah, and it comes from that deep thinking and also something I'll get into later of I really believe I was a doctor in a past life. And if you don't really follow the framework of past life stuff, that's okay. But I think that has something to do with now, like in this lifetime, I'm very hyper focused on health and just wanting the best for my body. So, number three, we're really good at like connecting the dots. And I kind of did that earlier with the synchronicity with the intensati and today being the day a year ago that Patricia Moreno passed away. Some people would just call those like, oh, that's just like a coincidence that you're making the video today and it was like the same date. No, it's a synchronicity. And synchronicities are connecting the little puzzle pieces and dots of our life together. That there's like this bigger picture for our life, and it's like this beautiful, divinely orchestrated like web. And these little synchronicities are little breadcrumbs, like kind of like putting things together and showing us where to go next. So, yeah, I guess I'll use that as an example as a synchronicity. I have so many of them. Um, of just like, another example of a synchronicity could be like you were thinking of someone, you haven't talked to them in like 10 years, and that night they call you or text you or send you an email or something like that. That's definitely synchronicity. So, number four is another gift I feel for me, at least, is my intuition. And I read other places that people on the spectrum aren't connected to their intuition, but I don't agree with that because I feel like I have a very strong intuition, and it's led me to actually moving to California. That was part of it. But I wanted to give an example that I really loved, and this happened, I think, last year. I remember doing a meditation around that time, and I just remember like asking my third eye to be more clear. Like I almost like visualize. So your third eye is like right here. It's not like a real eye, but it's like your intuition. It gives you deeper insight and knowledge, and it's like connected to your higher consciousness. So I was just asking to like have that clear a little bit, almost like a window, how a window needs to be Windex sometimes. So I did that, like cleared it, and I'm like driving somewhere, and out of nowhere, I was thinking of roofs. And I'm like, oh, I wonder how this guy that I used to date a long time ago in high school, his cousin in Pennsylvania, he he works for a roofing company. So he's like, oh, I wonder how he's doing. I wonder how like the roofing business is going and all of this stuff. And I'm like thinking, I'm like looking at the roofs here in California and how they're different from Pennsylvania, and then kind of forgot about it. And then later that day, I talked to my mom, and she's like, oh, I'm just so stressed out. She's like, the roofers were supposed to come today and put a new roof on, and they just no showed. Mind you, people only repair their roofs like once every like 30 years or something like that. So I was like, oh, really? And I was like, I was just thinking of, such and such's company, roofing company this morning. And I'm like, do you want his number? Maybe he can help you. And she's like, okay. Turns out like that was the same company she was going to use. And I said, oh, well, let me reach out to my ex's mom and see if she can get in contact with him to see like what's going on. So anyway, I was able to like connect them and they were able to like solve the issue and they were able to come over the next day and fix the roof and all this stuff. And my mom was like, wow, that was like a divine intervention or something. And she normally doesn't ever use those words. So I thought that was pretty amazing, right? Like, again, most people would just say, oh, that's just a coincidence. You were thinking of roofs and then that happened with your mom. But no, it was a synchronicity for sure. And that meditation I did with my intuition. Okay, number 5. Um, we do excel at some things, just not everything. So for me, I went to school for dental hygiene, and one of my interests as a kid was teeth. I always took really good care of my teeth, which is interesting because a lot of autistic people like are not good with brushing their teeth and whatnot. But I always loved going to the dentist. I always loved teeth, and I was very, hyper focused on teeth in school. And I did really good in college. I didn't do good in regular school because I hated it. I just wasn't taught in the right ways. But once I was focused on teeth in college, I excelled, I did pretty good. But there's certain things I don't excel in, like math, for example. I am definitely horrible at math, but some people on the autistic path might be really good at math. So, like I said, no two autistic people are exactly alike. Number 6, I feel like I can connect to animals on a whole other level, and I have a really cool story with that too. Well, I'm very connected to my cat Nellie, who's 16 now, and I had him since he was 6 months old. But I have a story about my ex that I had like 2 years ago. I was really connected to his dog Tarzan, and we had went on a road trip back in like 2020. And we took Tarzan with us, and one of the nights we were sleeping in the van with the dog, and my ex woke me up, and he's like, "There's something wrong with Tarzan." And right away, like my doctor mode just like kicked in. I was like, okay. I was like, he's overheating. He has like heat exhaustion right now. I was like, grab the fan, grab some ice out of the cooler, and like I just like knew what to do. And I was like really helping him. And so that was kind of cool. And then after that, we ended up a couple of months later breaking up. But every now and then I would get just out of nowhere, a thought of Tarzan would come in. And the one time when it did come in, I had asked about him, and he said, oh, he's not doing so well. He had, I think, some sort of cancer. I forget exactly what it was. And then one more time that happened, I think like months and months later, I just got this strong, like, again, out of nowhere. I'm like, something's wrong with Tarzan. Yeah, I wonder what it is. And then my ex messaged me and told me that Tarzan had passed away. So that's also connected to number 4, the intuition, but also just having that connection with animals, just loving to be around animals and just really feeling their spirits and their souls. So number 7, I feel like people on the spectrum are really connected to their creativity and their imagination. And I feel like I've always been that way. I've always felt like, I was into some kind of like art project or creating something. When I was younger, I used to love playing with my toy mailbox. I was like really into the mail, and still to this day I am. Like I love writing to pen pals, and I love getting different stationery and different pens and like different cards and stuff like that, and collecting stamps. And it's changed throughout the years, like different things. And just, yeah, just having a really strong imagination, like just really visualizing. Yeah, I've always kind of visualized like how I wanted my life to go. So number 8 is being honest and loyal. So the thing about autistic people is we can really be like really upfront and blunt, and we don't mean to do that to hurt people. It's just our nature is just to kind of like tell things how it is. And I think unintentionally I have hurt people in that way, but to look at the gift of it is like knowing an autistic person, just knowing that like it's really hard for them to tell a lie or like I can't without just like you would know I was lying if I said something that wasn't true, because it just everything about my face and like my mannerisms show that it's a lie. And then just being loyal. Like I've always been like a loyal friend. I've always been loyal at work, sometimes to a fault. I'm just like always showing up. Like sometimes even when I wasn't really feeling well, I would still show up because I didn't want to miss work, things like that. The 10th thing is we have extra keen senses. And that's one of the most talked about thing with autism is our sensory issues. And I want to look at it as a gift and not an issue. And I think I'll just speak for myself that my sensory issues are not issues. It's either, it's just so like common to be like sensory issues, sensory gifts. I think part of that is like my intuition, like getting this like psychic knowledge and stuff like that. Um, like knowing things like before they happen. Like I'll have dreams about stuff sometimes and then like it'll actually like happen or something's about to happen and I'm like, "Oh, I dreamt in my dream that it was going to go this way." And then I'm like, "Oh, well now I can course correct and not do that because that wasn't the best path." So, also like I noticed my sense of smell like increased. That could be for other reasons too, but I love when I walk out in nature. Like I can really, really smell like the trees and stuff like that. And I like that extra sense because it's actually like very relaxing. Oh, and I missed one. Number 9. I think I missed number 9. And by the way, if you don't know by now, I don't know how to make like corrections on videos. So this is like the first every video that I shoot. So if there's mistakes, you're just gonna hear and see the mistakes. So number 9, remembering past lives. And I touched on this earlier a little bit when I said that I feel like I had a past life as doctor. And I feel that way for many reasons. It's kind of hard to put into words. And I hope, by me talking about past lives, that might turn some people away. Like, that's not my intent. And if you don't believe in that sort of thing, you can just skip over this one. That's fine. You don't have to believe in everything I believe in. But I was talking to a friend who has a son who has autism, and he's completely nonverbal. And she said, but nonverbal people can use like a message board to communicate, and he shares about his past lives, like he remembers them like really well. And I'll just share one brief thing. When I used to live in La Jolla, California, and I lived there from like 2020 to like 2022, and there was just something about living there. It was like this remembrance. I remember talking to like an Akashic records reading about this, and it seemed like I had a past life there. Like there's this bookstore there called Warwick's, and it's been there for like a really, really long time. So it's like this like historical bookstore. And whenever I walk in there, it's like I want to be there all the time. Like the feeling that I get when I'm in there, it's just like I would sometimes just go to walk around and not even buy anything. So it was just like this such a just overcome with this like remembrance. And then there's this hotel, this pink hotel that's like right on the ocean. It's called the La Valencia. I just like got the message I needed to go there and visit there. And I feel like that was like really familiar to me too. And it was cool because it was like during COVID. So when I went to visit, there wasn't really anybody there. And it was during Christmas time. So they had this big Christmas tree in front of like the window, like overlooking the ocean. And it was just like so beautiful. And I had that feeling like I got like in the bookstore of like, oh, I remember this. This is like so awesome. I don't know how else to describe it. And okay, the very last one is we're good problem solvers. So I know for me, like when somebody starts telling me about something they're going through in their life, um, my brain's already going into like solution of like how I can solve it for them, which can turn out as looking as like we're not present, wanting to listen to their problems, and we're just trying to take them out of the problem and into the solution and not really have any empathy. But that's not the case. It's really like just how our brain works is like as soon as like we hear of a problem or somebody's talking about it, it's like clockwork that our brain just goes right into it, like, oh, okay, how can I fix this? How can I solve this? So the example I wanted to give is so I most of you know I've been a dental hygienist for 16 years, and I've experienced in that time major burnout and just exhaustion and just feeling like, how am I going to do this career any longer? Like I just feel like I'm going to break. I can't do this. So after COVID happened and I couldn't work for a while, I actually created, because of being a problem solver, I created an online course called Energetic Hygiene. And I bring this up not because I'm trying to sell you the course, but it was like my brain was trying to make sense of like, why can't I work? Why is this such a problem? And I'm like, oh, because like I'm burning out. I at that time I didn't know I was autistic. Um, but many people who are not autistic signed up for this program, and it really benefited their life. So it was a good thing that like I had this problem, because it allowed me to create this program that taught people about like, how they are an empath, and like what energy vampires are, and like what are your non-negotiables in life, to what are energy drains, what drains your energy, what lights up your energy, things like that. So it's like this whole 5-month program basically on energy and how to prevent and how to not have burnout in your life. Okay, so I felt like that was a lot to share, and I was talking really fast, so I hope you got that all. And again, if you are liking my videos, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment below, and I can't wait to share more videos with you. Thanks for watching. Namaste.